So I was going to try to put together some battle reports for Malifaux now that Sean and I are kind of starting our return to the breach, and we're playing some games, kind of the lunchtime games. And it's a little challenging recording some of these games because I am on a limited time frame. I need to finish up and get back to my job. But that said, I really appreciate Sean coming out and playing some games with me. One of the things we've had to do was move to a 35 soulstone format. And according to the new rules, anytime you are below 50 soulstones for your encounter, your master only has 2 AP. And I think this is interesting because it really does change a lot about how the game kind of feels. And it really takes some of the oomph away from how powerful masters can be. So anyways, we got together for a 35 soulstone game. I generated the encounter, and we ended up with covert operations on a diagonal board with corner deployment. So this was an interesting set of strats and deployment. And we'll talk about schemes in a little bit. I looked into my repertoire of things, and as you guys know, I'm focusing on Arcanists, and kind of decided, well, given the time, I was thinking about maybe playing Rasputina or even Hoffman or something like that, but decided to go with Kaeris 2 for covert operation. I feel like getting to the middle of the board, she's going to be pretty fast, and along centerline strategies, I think Kaeris 2's ability to just sort of be there and burn things down is going to be quite good. So my crew was Kaeris, Eternal Flame, or Kaeris 2, I should say, Eternal Flame. I also had Borgman, Carlos, Deacon Hillcrest, and I had a Firebranded with Arcane Reservoir, and that allowed me, I believe, 3 Soulstones. So kind of skinny on the Soulstones, but again, hey, 35 Soulstone crew. And so I was facing off against Sean's Seamus crew. So he declared Seamus for this encounter, which I also think is a pretty good pick given his superior mobility. Seamus also has some really no-nonsense damage. On Seamus, at least. The rest of his crew sometimes cannot quite hit the way you would hope they would. But anyways, Sean was coming in with Seamus, the copycat killer, Bête Noire, Madame Sibel, a dead Doxy, a dead Dandy, and a Gravedigger. So pretty large crew for 35 Soulstones. That leaves him with 2 Soulstones spare. And so we went about our game. Now, I would love to say that this was a long tactical game. Sadly, 35 Soulstones and some really, we'll call them aberrant card flips. It didn't quite end up that way. We both ended up choosing the same schemes, and I think for good reasons for both of us. So we both chose Leave Your Mark to try to fight for that center. I'm not as agreeable with Sean's choosing of Leave Your Mark as I am with Kaeris choosing that. I think she's, in this matchup, in this setup, I think she's going to be stronger in the middle, stronger sort of, setting up her stronghold in the middle of the board with Borgman and Carlos kind of bouncing around, scheming the way he does. And then we both also picked, I think it's called Fill 'em Up. I forget what it's called. The one where you just stick a bunch of markers on the other guy's side of the board. I know with Kaeris 2, very, very, very easy to stick pyre markers all over the place, and you'll see that in some of the photos. So I chose that, and Sean picked the same thing. He was thinking he could do a lot of things with corpse markers, and I don't disagree with that with the Gravedigger and with I guess it's Bête Noire. He would be able to put corpse markers down on my side of the board. So again, not poor choices on schemes either way. I think we're both playing this realistically, and so we jump into it. So the first turn of the game was basically both of us unpacking. Kaeris 2, I have never played her before today, I should point out. But I did know some very basic things about Kaeris too, like get the burning on all the guys, smear it around, and then maybe, if you're lucky, get some attacks off towards the end of the round. Now, Deacon Hillcrest can help that with his translocation ability, and Kaeris too is very mobile if you are good about putting pyre markers where she wants to go and where she wants to begin. So I was able to put that down right as she's starting, and she was able to move from one pyre marker to the next pyre marker, get the requisite burning she needed. I think she ended up going to burning 6 during the turn. It probably could have gone higher than that, had I maybe thought about things a little bit more clearer. So with a little bit more practice on the unpack, I could probably get her up past burning 6. But anyways, she ended the turn charging the Gravedigger and getting close enough to Bête Noire to splash damage onto her, and then dump the rest of the burning onto Bête Noire and the Gravedigger. She also took a shot from Seamus, which was smart on Sean's part. However, he did not know I had a red Joker in my hand, and so I just said, no, we're not going to get hit by that nasty flintlock today. We're just not dealing with it. So that ended the first turn, basically with Bête Noire and the Gravedigger dying immediately. Turn 2 got really rough. So turn 2, that's where we started to get into more of the combat side of things, and I thought for sure Sean was going to try to bank away from the center, but he kind of bunched up in the center, and that's super bad against Wildfire, like super bad against Kaeris too, and was able to splash a whole bunch of damage all around, including some pretty nasty attacks from Borgman and Kaeris onto Seamus. And I thought for sure Seamus was just going to pop away because he sent Copycat Killer hard down the flank of the board, like towards the corner of the map. And I thought for sure he was just going to swap Seamus out once things got too tight and too difficult. But he stayed in there and did what he could. But the problem was I just had cards and cards and cards for days. My flips were abnormally good. Like, I wasn't flipping anything lower than an 11, and for those of you who know me and game with me locally, that's just insanity, right? I usually go like 3/4 of the turn before I even see a 10 flipped or anything like that. So some crazy good flips on my part, ended up killing Seamus at the very end of the turn due to just all the burning. I think I ended up with like 8 burning or something on Seamus. So he ended up dying. There were really only like 3 models left towards the end of the second turn. Borgman ended up dying in the middle of the round. Sean was able to focus on Borgman, and that was my mistake. I did not keep Borgman close enough to the pyre markers. I did not use his burning to get the plus defensive flips as well as I could have. So some learnings there. That said, I do accept that guys like Borgman are going to die eventually, and he was in the teeth of the crew, doing lots of damage to the big scary Seamus. So all in all, I'm happy with that trade. Happy to trade Borgman for Seamus, and then just do a swirl ton of damage to the rest of Sean's crew. And in fact, it got so bad with all the pyre markers and the burning and everything else that we just decided to call it at the end of turn 2, because there was really that point. Sean's the 4 remaining models. The only one who was not like dying and burning out was the Copycat Killer on the corner of the board, and I still had Carlos and Deacon Hillcrest and the Firebranded just chilling, ready to blow up whoever was left there. So anyways, we'll go ahead and end that here. That was the first game that Sean and I played. 35 Soulstones is awesome. I really enjoy it. Kaeris is a nightmare to deal with on certain maps like that where you're trying to fight for the middle line or trying to fight for the center, even worse. So anyways, that is going to do it for this very abbreviated battle report. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.